What's going on, everyone? I am packing for Scotland right now, and I figured this might be a good time to kind of discuss what I'm going to be packing for this trip. I get asked a lot on my social media accounts what I normally have in my bag or what type of cameras I'm shooting with, so I think this is pretty long overdue, so let's get into it. First off, let's start with the bag itself. My go-to camera bag over the past year and a half has been the Nomatic Peter Mckinnon 35-liter camera backpack. I have tried, I want to say, almost every single backpack that's currently on the market, camera bag. This by far has been the best one I've used. It's very versatile. It's pretty good for hiking. I'd say that if I'm doing more intensive hikes, I will use a hiking specific pack and put a camera cube in that pack. But other than that, this is normally my go-to bag. I love a bag that sort of opens up into one massive pocket and kind of fits all of my gear into one pocket, so I'm not having to look for certain things in an upper pocket while, you know, my camera's in the lower cubes. So I'd really prefer to have a camera bag that sort of just has everything encompassed into one main compartment and separated by dividers. This bag is also great because it has a great outer shell that makes it very water resistant, rip resistant, and overall it's just a very durable bag. I've had it for about a year now and I haven't had any issues with anything breaking, scraping, ripping, or falling apart. So I'd count that as a win because I do a lot of traveling, and that means that it's going to be kind of put through the ringer. A lot of hiking, and I'm throwing it on rocks and in mud, and it's sort of lasted through all of that. So far, big fan of it, and I'm going to continue using it on every other trip throughout the rest of this year. Obviously, the biggest question I get asked on social media is what camera I use to film my videos on. They're cinematic videos that I capture and use for storytelling, and that's going to be the Canon R5C. In my opinion, this is one of the best hybrid cinema cameras on the market because not only does it offer me a cinema OS and beautiful cinematic tones and 8K if I want, it also offers 48 megapixel stills. So if I want to, this is the only camera I need to take to create both photo and video. If I'm doing like a longer hike and don't feel like taking my photography specific camera, this is the only camera I'm going to have to take in the end. That being said, it is pretty big compared to like the Canon R5 or the R6. It's got that extra fan in the back, which makes it a little bit deeper, but that being said, it's one of my favorite cameras for just being an all-around versatile cinematic and photography camera. I've been using the Canon R system for around 2 years now. Canon was one of my first cameras that I ever had. I had the Canon 6D, and then I took some time away to work with Olympus cameras and some of their smaller systems, and ended up coming full circle back to Canon in 2022 and moving into the R system because I wanted to do more video projects. My go-to lens is going to be the Canon RF 24-70. This is my workhorse. This is the lens that I'm going to be using on every single trip and every single shoot the most. It's extremely versatile. It's obviously weather sealed like all the other RF lenses. In my opinion, it's hard to beat Canon glass. Overall, the natural colors that this lens can put out when compared to the R5C is incredible. And I love the skin tones that you get with C-Log 3, and being able to color grade that is really easy because the dynamic range on the R5C is incredible. My second most used lens, and one that I'm always going to have with me, is the Canon RF 70-200mm 2.8. This is sort of one of those lenses that it feels like it should be used less than like a 15-35, but I use it so much more than that because I love compression and I love being able to compress a subject or compress layers in a scene. And this is also like a really good lens for street photography. If I'm kind of wanting to photograph a subject from far away without being intrusive on a person, the 70-200 is the best lens to use. And I use it a lot for video too when I'm trying to capture people like in New York City and I'm wanting to just kind of, you know, keep my distance from them, but while also trying to tell a story and capture them in their element and in that moment. It's also like a very good size for being a 70-200. It's very packable, very lightweight, and I'm curious to see, my buddy has the 70-200 RF flat 4, and that thing is tiny. I'd be curious to take that on like longer hikes where I don't really want to carry the weight of the 70-200, because I mean, it can be a little heavy, I guess, but for a 70-200 it's pretty light. For the other lenses that I might sometimes have with me, you've got the RF 15-35 f2.8. I'm not a big fan of anything wider than 24mm. I like to stick to 20mm or above. I don't really like the wobble that you can get with anything wider than that. It's just, I feel like that lens I may use once or twice a trip, and that's not worth the space or weight to put into my bag. So I usually leave it behind unless I specifically know that I'm going to need something wider than a 24mm for that trip, which is almost never. Another lens that I sometimes will bring with me if I'm wanting to photograph product a lot and want an even more shallower depth than f2.8 is going to be the 50mm f1.2. This lens is a beast. Being able to get that extremely shallow depth with that f1.2 is awesome when I'm just trying to focus on a certain product, or I want to separate a subject or product from the background so much. But again, it's something that is very specific and I rarely use on a trip or out in the field, just because it's a very expensive lens, and to take it all the way out somewhere and risk it potentially getting damaged or lost or stolen simply to get one frame isn't usually worth it. So pretty often that I leave it here and use it in the office or on more local shoots, or if I just know that I'm absolutely going to need it in the field, then yeah, I'll take it. But I usually try to save space and weight and leave it behind. And lastly, a lens that I got a couple of weeks ago, I got the RF 100mm f2.8 macro. This lens is really cool to use when I'm trying to film for a brand, or I want to photograph for a brand and I just want to, you know, highlight a logo or a small feature of a lens or a product, and I'm just kind of wanting to hone in on this very, very small piece of that product. The 100mm is amazing for that. But again, it's one of those things where I may use it once or twice on a trip. So unless I truly need a macro lens, I'm gonna leave it behind. So for my photography camera, I usually use the Leica Q2. So last September, I had gotten the Fujifilm X100V because I liked the look that I could get without having to edit. I wanted to have a camera that could produce JPEGs for quick stories or quick examples to send to a client while I'm out on a shoot, and so I kind of got that camera. But the problem for me was, it's an amazing camera. I don't want to say anything bad about it, but the problem for me was the smaller sensor size, and the fact that it's a fixed focal length means that I'm essentially going to have to crop in a lot if I want to get like a specific subject that was further away from me. And I noticed there would be, you know, limitations to that with a 24 or 26 megapixel camera. I can't remember which one it is. Essentially, like, I was limited on how far I could crop in with that camera. I loved everything about it besides the sensor size. So like most other people who use the X100V as the gateway camera into the Leica Q series or the Leica M series, I picked up the Leica Q2. I bought mine used because even though this is a predecessor to the Leica Q3, this camera is still very expensive, but for good reason. It's one of the best cameras that Leica has ever made. It's my favorite photography camera by far. Getting this camera kind of unlocked a new inspiration for me when it came to photography. I kind of had been uninspired photography wise. I was doing a lot of video, and that's kind of what was doing well on social media. But something about this camera, as most Leica users will tell you, it's that these cameras aren't really about the technology. They're more about their user experience and how they feel in your hand and how they inspire you to create something new, something different. I think there's a kind of a notion there where a lot of people say the best camera is the one that you have in your hand. And I tend to agree with that, but I also think that the best camera is the one that inspires you. The best camera is the one that inspires you to create more, to create new things, to be bold, and just simply do something that you're uncomfortable with maybe. So the Leica Q quickly became my go-to photography camera. I take 99% of my photos with this camera in 2024. I think I got it in February. And this camera is also super packable, so there's really no reason for me to ever not take it. I love taking it on hikes, and I love taking it into a city where I want to photograph people or a subject without necessarily being noticed. It's definitely hard to be inconspicuous with the R5C and the giant lenses that I'm using with it. So using the Leica Q2 and being able to photograph a subject from far away and still being able to crop in on a 48 megapixel sensor is perfect for me. And the colors that a Leica produces are unmatched in my opinion. They're beautiful, they're natural, and I think that for me, they produce some of the best color science on the market. Now let's talk about something that you don't really see often on my page, which is kind of drone. The drone I usually have with me is going to be the DJI Air 3. I've had it since September of last year, and I've probably used it twice. I don't really do drone stuff as much anymore for a couple of reasons. One, they're being regulated a lot more, and a lot of parks and forests just aren't allowing you to use them there anymore without permits. I have my Part 107. I am commercially certified, but I still just don't want to have to deal with all of that. I think that most of the storytelling I do is perfectly accomplished without the need for any aerial. I also think that they're kind of a nuisance if I'm, near a group of people that I don't know. There are a lot of people who are traveling and are trying to experience new things or a new place for the first time, and I don't really want the buzzing of my drone to annoy the hell out of them, so I can simply get a shot. Now, there are moments and projects I've worked on where having the drone was 100% necessary, and I did everything I needed to in terms of getting the permits and all of this, but I just 99% of the time I just don't need it. I will be taking it to Scotland next week, I think. I don't know, my buddy Blaine is bringing one. Maybe we'll just use his for the most part, but it's something that I rarely take because I don't know, I'm not inspired by it either. I'm not really inspired by drone content anymore. We'll see if I take it. I haven't decided yet. We'll see how full my pack is before then. And of course, I'm gonna have a shotgun mic with me. I love recording the sounds that I'm filming. I use SFX a lot if I have to. Like if it's raining, I'm definitely not gonna have the shotgun mic out because I don't really want it to get wet, but I really love just being able to easily add the sounds that I was capturing in a particular moment. And the Rode Mic Plus, or the Rode VideoMic Plus, is one of the best shotgun mics on the market that isn't XLR. Unfortunately, the R5C doesn't use XLR, but that's okay. In the future, I'll have a camera that uses an XLR mic because obviously that's preferred. I also take the DJI lavalier mics, or the transmitter mics, with me. These are the second version of these. I had the first version and they were awesome, but I saw that these had noise canceling capabilities and 32-bit raw recording, so I had to purchase these, and I don't regret that for a minute. The sound quality of these compared to the first version, it's probably 10 times better than the first edition that DJI came out with, and I use these a lot for doing voiceover. Like if I need a quick project to do some voiceover for a client, and I need, I don't want to take obviously this podcast mic with me. That one, the DJI mics just do such a good job of capturing my voice without, hindering the sound. It's quick and easy, and you can do it on your phone. So I highly recommend these if anyone's looking for a microphone set that they want to use on the go. I use the Mckinnon memory card holder. I also use the battery holder as well. Both of them are like really durable and they seem very protective, and they're also like easy to organize. So I use both of those and they match too, so that's cool, I guess. They fit well within this bag obviously because they're basically meant to go together. But the memory cards that I'm normally using are either like a SanDisk or a ProMaster, just something fast. I have to use SD cards for the Leica Q2 and CFast cards for video on the R5C. So I have a lot of both. And then obviously I'll have some micro SDs in my bag if I want to use a GoPro or my DJI Air 3. I use the Peak Design Tech Pouch when I'm on planes. This is kind of where I keep all of my SSDs, my accessories for electronic charging cords, anything I'm going to need immediately on the plane or that I want to keep with me when I'm like in a coffee shop or something. The SSDs I prefer to use that I keep in the Peak Design Pouch are the Samsung T7s or the T7 Tough. I can't remember what they are, but they're the really durable ones that have rubber around them. Both of them are very durable. When you have an SSD, it's very hard to break them. I prefer those. They're very fast and they're very small, so it's kind of just easy to carry around everywhere with me, and they're very trustworthy. Samsung makes a really good product. SanDisk also makes good SSDs. I haven't used them too much. I felt like the ones that I was using, I can't remember what they were called. They're like blue and orange, but they were kind of slow. after like the first couple of times of using them, so that's why I switched to the T7s. I haven't regretted it. I use them all the time, so highly recommend those. I keep an Anker MagSafe charger in my tech pouch. This is usually for like emergency cases when like I'm on a plane or in the car and just want to be able to quickly charge my phone without having to get like a big block out or attach my phone to like the car's charging port, or like if I'm on a hike and just want to have it charging my pack while I'm walking. MagSafe chargers are awesome. Obviously they're, you know, they're not fast charging by any means, but they'll get you the juice that you need, and they're very small and easy to use. So I definitely have one with me at all times. But if I'm actually wanting to charge like my MacBook or charge my phone quickly, I have the Anker block charger. I mean, you can get them on Amazon for like $100, super good price. And it's like 120 watts and 20,000 milliamps of power. So I feel like it could probably charge my iPhone 7 to 8 times. So that'll last me about a week. Or if I want to charge my laptop, it can charge it over maybe 1.5 to 2 times, which is insane. And it charges it very fast. So I highly recommend that. I actually just picked that up a couple of weeks ago because I was trying to have something that could charge, you know, my camera, my laptop, and my phone without needing to be recharged in a hotel more than once a trip. And it's been awesome so far. Anker is an amazing brand. Highly recommend their products. I also have like AirPods in my Peak Design tech pouch for the plane, and the Airfly transmitter, so I can transmit my AirPods directly to the screen that's on the airplane, because I hate airplane headphones and I don't really like wearing over-ear headphones either because they hurt my ears after a couple hours. So highly recommend the Airfly transmitter. I just picked this up like 6 months ago, and it is one of the coolest pieces of tech that I carry with me. I normally carry a couple of filters, but the one I'm usually using is going to be a variable ND. I use the Haida variable ND. It also has a polarizer, which sometimes I like and sometimes I don't. I go back and forth with that. Sometimes it can create like a very weird vignetting around my frame, and it just pisses me off. So a lot of times I'll kind of avoid using that unless I know it's not creating that vignette. But this ND is awesome. I've had it for about 1.5 years now, and I've shot all my videos with it, and it doesn't have any weird contrast or coloring issues. It doesn't mess with my white balance. It's a pretty good price. I feel like it's $100, which is a great price for an ND filter of that quality. My go-to tripod on trips is the Peak Design tripod. I use it because it's obviously super travel friendly. I have the aluminum one, which is like 1/2 pound heavier than the carbon fiber. I wish I had just spent the extra money on the carbon fiber, because the aluminum one is 3.4 pounds. So it's like super packable obviously still, but it is heavier on longer hikes, and I definitely feel the weight. But I highly recommend the tripod no matter what. If you are looking at something that's super packable, but you don't want to spend the money on the carbon fiber one, which is like over $600, definitely check out the aluminum. It's still worth it. I mean, the weight kind of sucks, but it's so packable, but it's still sturdy enough to be able to withstand like winds, because I'm going to Scotland next week, and that's a very windy, very rainy place. It's a very durable tripod, and I've never had any issues with shaking or, you know, failing to hold my equipment. So I've been very happy with that purchase. I've had it for about 2 years now, and yeah, I kind of wish I went with the carbon fiber one, but that's okay. A couple of other random things I might have in my bag at any given moment might be sunglasses, a jacket, microfiber cloth, an air pump to help clean my lens, of course the Rainfly that matches this bag. It's a very durable bag, and it does a good job of keeping moisture out. I've never had any issues with it getting really humid in my bag and causing my screens or gear to fog up, but the Rainfly just kind of adds that extra security for me and all of my gear. And pretty soon I'm going to be adding a digital medium format camera to my kit. So that's going to take up a fair amount more room in my bag. I can't say what it is yet, but I'm really excited to test it out for a client over the next couple months, and hopefully be doing a video or two on that within the next 2 months too. I have a lot of new videos that are going to be coming out on my YouTube channel within the next month or two. A couple of reviews. I might do like just some like cinematic stuff for my trips. And so if you're really interested in that, please subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on that. Appreciate you guys watching my video today. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. If any questions about gear or any recommendations, feel free to reach out to me. I'm open to any questions you may have. With that being said, I appreciate you watching. Till next time.